On this day, Jacob, in 1999, Luka Doncic is born, the Slovakian basketball player who now plays for the Dallas Mavericks. Do you believe Luka is probably the best young star in the NBA today?
I mean, I wouldn't have believed it when he got drafted, but he has proven many people wrong, and he's definitely the best young guy in the league. If I could start a franchise with anyone today, I'm definitely going with Luca. I think.
Oh, I had mad respect. I thought he was going to be a baller when he came into the NBA. And I was right, unlike you. But, well, welcome to the Lone Bros podcast, boys and girls. As today we talk about a little bit NFL free agency, a little bit NBA talking about the Lakers, and some college basketball coming down to March Madness. But to start today, we we get into the NBA where we talk about the Lakers and their struggles that they've had this season. There's been some people out there talking about if the Lakers should trade LeBron or AD. Should they just kind of restart? Clearly there's something wrong within that organization that is happening. From the first season with LeBron and AD together, winning a championship in the bubble, and then completely just slowly crumbling down to the ground. There's something clearly not that's something that's not just clicking with this organization. Something needs to happen. And some people believe that it should be the Lakers trading LeBron or AD or even both of them. Jacob, what do you think the Lakers should do with LeBron and AD or in any direction that the Lakers should be taking?
I mean, honestly, I just kind of feel like at this point that team can't work, and I would never, I never really thought in a million years that I would be saying that a team should trade arguably the best basketball player ever, but they should trade arguably the best basketball player ever. Just because that roster is not going to work. And here's the thing: is they don't have any assets. They don't have any cap space, and they don't have any first rounders until 2025. So they can't even try to package some picks to try to get another guy. I mean, like their options are try to win with the roster they have now, or trade some stars. I mean, that's their only options, and the roster right now has just proven to not work. I mean, you could argue it worked 2 years ago, in the Mickey Mouse, in the Mickey Mouse championship they won, but like AD can't stay healthy. LeBron's, I mean, not as good as he was 2 years ago. He's still probably a top 3 to 5 player in the league for sure. Um, I'd put Luca and Giannis over him personally right now, just in terms of being, the best basketball players on the planet. But I mean, he's still one of the best. But I mean, he's not. He can't carry that team. I mean, it's shown all year. I mean, they're barely in the play-in right now. So I mean, I kind of think they got to shop him. They got to. Or if they want to keep LeBron for the last year of his contract, they just need to trade AD. Um, I think they could get a team to take AD. No one's going to take Westbrook off their hands. No one's gonna be willing to do that because his contract. Cause no one's willing to pay for Russ with the performance he's putting out. So I mean, I kind of think they don't really have much of a choice. It's either win with who they have or just start over because like I said, they don't have a first round draft pick till 2025. So I mean, they could get rid of LeBron James and pick up some first rounders. I mean, I'd say that'd be a win.
Yeah, see, there's where I am in a little bit of disagreement with you. Is that I don't think that they should trade LeBron James. Like I said, you can't build around him, but I think he's definitely a great player to have on your team. He's not going to carry a team anymore. I don't think anyone expects him to. What is he, 38 years old right now?
37, I
Like,
believe.
like that is he's getting up there. Like he's of course he's not going to be able to carry a team. I think they need to get rid of Anthony Davis. Because here's the thing about LeBron James' contract after next season ends. So I feel like the Lakers need to keep LeBron. Hope that after his contract ends, that they can sign him to a lot lower contract deal. It's something that's that they're going to cost them $40,000 or $40 million every single year. Like, try to take a hit on his salary. I feel like at that age too. If he's still trying to win championship at his age, he has so many endorsements and stuff. Like he doesn't really need that money. I feel like he could take a huge cut on his salary if he wants to win another championship at his age. I think get younger guys and be able to pay other younger people. Like Anthony Davis is getting injured all the time, every season. He's kind of seemed like he's kind of getting more soft too when he's like playing out there. And yeah, I don't know if it was my opinion, they need to get rid of Anthony Davis. They can get definitely some better young stars that come up before them right now. Maybe some draft picks, like you said, they don't have. They can get some, draft picks to come in, and they could trade those away because I think the Lakers we're winning now. I feel like as long as LeBron James is there, they're in a we're gonna win championships now mentality. They're not gonna like play the long game when he's there. So I think they trade AD. You'd love to get Russell Westbrook out of there. That is so dumb. I don't know why they thought that would work. I thought it was.
They
Honestly,
didn't think it was going to work. LeBron strong-armed them into getting him is the thing.
I just don't. And the sad part is, like, I love Russell Westbrook, but like, I don't know what team I don't think there's very many teams that he fits well in, or I think he needs to finally settle into a role on a championship team where he's not going to be the best player. They're a team that's not going to expect them for him to shoot the ball very much, and like,
I firmly believe that until Russell Westbrook can like make even a mid-range jumper, he wouldn't work anywhere because as he gets older, his athleticism is not going to work out anymore. Like he needs to be able to shoot the ball better, and he just can't. Like, I don't want to accuse him of not working on it because I'm sure he is, but I mean, like, I don't think his jumper has shown any improvement in the last 5 years.
And here's the thing with Russell Westbrook is that next year too, his contract will end. So next year will be his last year on contract with the Lakers because, whatever. But honestly, when this offseason hits, I don't know who would want to take. I don't feel like anybody. But if they trade Russell Westbrook even for just a couple draft picks, I think that'd be smart for the Lakers. I think getting rid of Russell in the offseason, like, you're not probably going to get as much as you want because $47 million will be his contract next year. And trying to have someone pick that up, I mean, it's just funny because he signed this 5-year, like, crazy deal with the Thunder, and then he's played for 4 different teams on this contract. See, the Thunder when he signed, the Rockets, the Wizards, now the Lakers. And I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets traded next year. I think get rid of Anthony Davis, get rid of. I think they need to kind of do not rebuild around LeBron. I think they need to trade everyone maybe on that team, not everybody, or like, and just put someone on the team that LeBron can be a good secondary to. Because that's what they brought Anthony Davis in for, was so LeBron could be a second to Anthony Davis. But Anthony Davis has just been hurt all the time and is just kind of playing to his standards that idea of LeBron doing that isn't working anymore because Anthony Davis just isn't playing that much. So I think they need to trade these players and just get a good secondary young guy. Like I told you this before the podcast, I'm not saying you can go and get this guy, and you probably won't say it, but like a guy like Trae Young or Luka, those are going to be hard people to get to come to the Lakers, especially when they seem pretty committed to the teams that they're on. But like getting a type of player like that LeBron can play behind, like LeBron would be a great second to that team. They definitely need. LeBron can't be the number one option on their team to win.
They need someone like Zach LaVine or like Brandon Ingram maybe, because like I said, they'll never be able to get someone like Donovan Mitchell, Trae Young, Luka, just because, those guys are untouchable in the franchise. They wouldn't trade them unless it was for LeBron James. And honestly, I wouldn't trade Donovan Mitchell for LeBron James because LeBron James has 3 years left. It's like, I just think that, I would be surprised if they did trade Westbrook because I don't think anyone's willing to take that contract for Westbrook.
Oh, that's what I said. I'd be surprised too, but I feel like those other 4 trades prior to that too.
They're going to try. I just don't think it's going to work.
I think they can get it done. They just need, if a team gets the right part, like I said, if a team's like, oh, we'll give you 1 first-round pick and 2 second-round, or like a first-round pick and a second-round pick, is that good enough? I don't know. I think that's like a Brandon Ingram. I did think about that earlier when I was talking about it. Like someone like that who you bring a Brandon Ingram in, and then you get some other dudes that can maybe shoot the ball, shoot a 3-pointer, like someone like I don't know he's on league, but JJ Redick. You put him out like a shooter like that's going to hit shots for you. I think the team could be good. LeBron.
They don't have any shooters on that roster whatsoever. LeBron is Melo maybe, but Melo's old.
Well, Melo, I don't consider him at all anymore. I'm just saying that LeBron they need to keep LeBron for sure, but thing is, after his contract's up, they can't keep paying him for $40 million to be the second man on the team or like third man on the team. Like that's what his rest of the career. he's a great player, yes, and he's still like one of the best players in the NBA for sure. But I just don't think he's not going to carry one. Like I said, at his age, no one expects him to carry anybody anymore.
And
So I think
they have Malik Monk. I know he can shoot, but I mean, he's not a dependable scorer. Said, I mean, when Davis is playing, he's only averaging 20. I mean, in the 37 games he's played in this year, which is only six less than LeBron has played this year. I mean, I'm kind of starting to question LeBron's ability to stay healthy. Has he played a full season in the last 3 or 4 years? Like more than 60 games?
well, see, and that's the part of my problem where I feel like he's maybe getting hurt because he's expected to carry a team when I don't think he should be expected to carry a team. Like that's the point that I feel like if some of that load is off of him, and I understand this load management. I know we can. That's maybe a discussion for another show, but like he could take a couple games off here and there, something like that, like on big long road trip, like whatever. Like, I don't know. Also, another player I will say that'd be cool for like LeBron. I mean, you said Brandon Ingram, but like Jason Tatum. I love Jason Tatum. I don't think the Celtics see get it because I think that's the Celtics man right there, but.
They could get Jaylen Brown. I mean, I kind of think the Celtics want to move off of one of the two.
Yeah, I think if they do, it's going to be Jaylen Brown. I think they're gonna stick with Jason Tatum. I think for a while.
Well, I mean, here's my problem with keeping LeBron around is I just don't know if it's really worth it for them to mortgage the next. Like I said, because I mean, like if they keep LeBron, and they don't have any picks. They are guaranteed to be bad for at least 5 years because they don't have a first rounder this year, next year, or the next year. So they have 4 drafts to go until they get a first round pick at all. And they don't have any picks this year. They have 2 seconds in 23, 1 second in 24, then they finally get that first rounder in 25. So like they don't have anything going their way except for just signing free agents. I mean, maybe they could sign some free agents, but I mean, until LeBron came around, they've been bad since Kobe. They were bad while Kobe was still there. Like, I mean, they haven't really, since they brought LeBron and been able to get the high caliber players to go play there, and they drafted okay, but not the best. I just don't foresee how what they have going on right now can be successful. I mean, why keep LeBron around to maybe get a 3 or 4 seed next year and lose in the conference semis? I mean, like,
I just find it funny too that like when Kobe and like LeBron's first year with like all those players around him, like they were bad, like not very good this first year playing for Lakers. It's kind of funny that like all those players that they traded now are like pretty like Brandon Ingram. We talked about like he was on that team. I mean, D'Angelo Russell, like these are good players in the NBA. Like I guess
Lonzo
Kuzma
Ball's
was
even
on the
been
last
playing
year.
pretty well. And Kuzma's been balling for the Wizards.
So I mean, like all these young players that they traded, like I feel like right now the Lakers would be like, man, it'd be nice to if we could get those players back.
I mean, granted, if you got one title with LeBron, I think you would say that it worked out for the Lakers. But I mean, like it's just like I said, I mean they've completely mortgaged their future, and I just don't see how what they have right now could possibly work next year. Like I said, unless they can get a good haul for AD. But like I said, I mean LeBron needs someone who's at least going to be around. And I mean, like if you think about it, this is LeBron's 4th season. In his first season with the Lakers, they missed the playoffs. I mean, he was injured a lot of that year, and he didn't have AD. But the Lakers missed the playoffs in his first year. In his second year, they win the title, the Mickey Mouse title. Granted, I'm not going to take that title away from them, but I'm not going to act like that giving Anthony Davis 2 months off probably helped his injury problems, and also kept LeBron healthy, and and all sorts of fun stuff like that. So I mean. I'm not going to put an asterisk on it, but I mean, we all know what happened that season. Last year, they got an 8 seed and lost in 5 games to the Suns, and this year they're a 9 seed right now. They're probably going to be in the play-in again. Might miss the playoffs if they don't get their stuff together, and then they'll probably just get swept by the Suns again, or the Warriors. I mean, like that's 3 out of 4 seasons basically being miserable failures, and then the title.
And the thing is, too, is that I find it'll be hard for them to trade Anthony Davis because LeBron runs that organization and LeBron loves AD. And I don't foresee LeBron going in there and be like, we're getting rid of AD. Like, and the thing is, if I don't think for LeBron's sake, I think he'd be stupid not to go in there and be like, we need to trade AD, we need to trade all these guys, and give me some young, talented people around me that I can like be, like I said a million times on the show, a good secondary for a team.
Even if they went and got like Jared Allen from the Cavs, just someone, at least a younger guy, so when LeBron leaves next year, which he's going to leave next year, like, or he might sign a 1 year. I don't know how many more years till his kid's in the NBA, 2 or 3.
I don't know what. I think Bronny. I think he's a junior this year, so next year he'll be a sophomore, and next year the next year he'll be a senior, and then next year he'll be in college. So I mean,
so he has two
Bronny
more.
is,
So he has 2 more NBA seasons, and then 3 seasons from now, Bronny will probably be in the NBA.
well, because who knows when LeBron is going to retire? No one knows. I mean, the same thing with Tom Brady. Everyone just didn't know when. And the year that I feel like no one thought he was actually going to this year, he ends up retiring. But
LeBron will play at least 1 year with this kid, and maybe 2 or 3.
Well, LeBron came out and said that he's going to play for the Lakers for the rest of his career until basically the last season when he plays for this kid. Like I said, maybe Bronny's first year in the league is LeBron's last year. He's going to retire and play with this kid, or maybe LeBron's going to play for 5 more seasons with the Lakers, and once he's 46, 47 years old, he'd be like, all right, I'll go play for Bronny wherever he's at.
Like I said, like you said, like if the Lakers can't get him for less than max, they kind of just have to let him walk. Because I mean, they can't put a 38-year-old LeBron on a 3-year max deal and expect that to work. They just can't.
Yeah, no, it's not going to, and I don't think they will. And I don't know what they're gonna do, but LeBron James isn't worth it. They'd be stupid to do that. Like I said, hopefully LeBron will just take a dropout contract, and
he seems like a guy who'd be willing to. I don't know if he actually would or not, but because he would find a franchise somewhere who is a borderline competitor who will give him a max deal.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, he also brought up, which is kind of funny, that
he go back to the Cavs.
He brought up, that's what I was going to say, he brought up like a week ago that at the All-Star game with the Cavaliers that he basically said, never say never for me returning here. And kind of funny that the Cavs are kind of a young, upcoming team and his contract's done next year. Like, what if he went back to the Cavs for 2 more seasons and then wanted to go, his last season, go play for Bronny, like with Bronny? I don't know. It'd be interesting to see what happens moving forward. I have nothing else to say about it unless you have some final comments.
I think that's probably good enough for now. We can talk about a little bit of NFL free agency, I think.
Yeah, so I think we can move on to NFL free agency. Like I said, NFL free agency, like clearly there's a lot of teams looking to make moves right now. NFL draft coming up in April, so there'll be some teams maybe looking to make some moves here or there. There's just a couple names I want to throw out there for you, Jacob, and just get your opinion on what you think, like, these teams should be doing with these players. The first one I'm going to say, which I feel like has kind of been iffy topic of should we trade him or not for like the past 2-3 years, is the Browns and Baker Mayfield. I think there's been a lot of discussion there. People saying, is Baker Mayfield actually that good? Like, is he their franchise quarterback? Like, can he lead the Browns to a Super Bowl? Because the Browns this year were supposed to be not a bad team, and it was just a disappointing season for them.
That's what the last 3 seasons have been like.
Well, 2 seasons ago they made it to the playoffs, beat the Steelers. They almost beat the Chiefs. They lost by 3 or something like that. I mean, 2 seasons ago they had a good season, but I don't know. Do you think the Browns should move on from Baker? And if they do, what should they trade him for picks or trade him? Should get a different quarterback? I mean, what's your opinion with Baker Mayfield?
I mean, I think they should trade him. I think it just clearly looks like it's not working there. I mean, it kind of looked like OBJ was the problem there, and they trade OBJ, and Matt Stafford throws him 8 touchdowns in 6 games. Like, I mean, that's not a coincidence. I mean, I just don't think that he's working. I mean, he has all the tools to be great. That offensive line is great. He has awesome running game. He has talented receivers to throw the ball to, and they just haven't been good. And the defense is good enough. I mean, honestly, all Baker has to do is just play okay. And they'll win games, but it's just not working. I mean, honestly, 2 years ago, I was kind of like, this Baker Mayfield experiment might work. Or not experiment, but I mean, Baker Mayfield might work. Like I said, they won a playoff game. I kind of forgot about them almost being the Chiefs, but it's like it was working. It was like, hey, last year it was like these guys could win a Super Bowl, but it all comes down to Baker Mayfield playing well enough, and he just hasn't been that great. I mean, what the problem is you kind of have to think from another team's perspective. Is if he's not working in a situation like that where everything is made for him to succeed, I mean, like where is he going to work? I mean, there's definitely a franchise out there who's probably desperate enough to try to get him, but
I'll say one of those teams I think that are willing to get. I feel like the Texans. I mean, the Texans are kind of all messed up there. I feel like they just need a quarterback that would be willing to play there. Or I feel like if
I would
they'd be willing to get Baker,
I'd get rid of Baker Mayfield and like our next 4 first rounders if they could get Deshaun Watson out of that. That would be a legit Super Bowl contender for 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't mind Baker Mayfield actually. I kind of hate him in college, but once he came to the NFL, honestly, I think just his progressive commercials is why I like him now. Like
He's really
I
cool,
think
dude.
if you go,
But
like if you
being
go back
cool doesn't win football games.
if you go back to college, it's like my most hate. I hated Baker Mayfield so
You're just
much.
mad because he planted the flag on the O.
Oh, that was dirty. And then yeah, no, because I just love his progressive commercials. I don't know what the Browns. I think the Browns should move on from him, but like it sucks that they've spent this much time with him and like tried to build around him, which they did, and it just not worked out. Like they had the target. But think about
They
OBJ
literally gave him
too, so-
everything you could possibly want as a quarterback, and he still kind of, I mean, and he hasn't really been that successful.
Well, here's the thing: you talk about OBJ and going the Rams. OBJ was injured for most of his time at the Browns as well. Most of the time in the Browns, he was injured, not playing games. And yeah, this last season he did play and whatever. But like, yeah, this season it didn't work out when he went to the Rams. But I just feel OBJ was excited to play for the Browns, and he was like hyping on them up that they're going to have a great team and stuff like that. But he's injured for most of the season. And I think when he came back, I just think he just saw that he's not on a winning team and just wanted out. And I think that's what happened.
I think that's a fair assessment.
But it's funny that you just bring up Deshaun Watson about trading for Deshaun Watson, because that was another name I have on here for NFL free agency is Deshaun Watson. I've seen a lot of teams come up there, and rightfully so, come out saying that if Deshaun Watson's legal case or whatever gets dropped, or that kind of just gets settled, that there's a lot of teams willing to trade for Deshaun Watson. And clearly Deshaun's not staying at the Texans, and the Texans would be stupid to keep him after all they've been through. What do you think about Deshaun? I mean, I don't foresee his thing getting settled anytime soon. I haven't seen anything about it getting settled anytime soon. Where do you think Deshaun Watson would be a good landing spot for him, besides you just saying the Browns? If he got everything settled, because clearly that team's not going to take him if it doesn't get settled.
I mean, the Dolphins, the Dolphins, Steelers, the Saints, any of those teams that are just a quarterback short to being really good, basically.
Yeah, well, the funny part is, and I don't know if it was a reliable source said that, like, there's a possible thing that the Texans might have to release Watson. It's kind of funny that after all this stuff happens, they'll probably really regret not trading him what he requested to trade even before the whole – because he requested to trade before the whole scandals, all that stuff happened. Like, they're probably feeling very stupid for not trading him right now.
There were months when they could have gotten rid of him. Like I said, I mean, they could have gotten 4 or 5 first rounders for him. Like, I think teams were offering that, but like they were either being greedy or just refusing to trade him. I mean, either or was. I mean, I heard what's his name, Nick Wright suggest that the craziest trade I've ever heard, that he said he would trade every single one of your first round draft picks until he leaves your roster for Deshaun Watson. So if he stays on your team for 10 years, that's 10 first round draft picks. Or if he's on your team for 5 years, that's 5 first round draft picks. So for every year he's on your roster, they get your first round draft pick. That's how valuable he thought he was. He was suggesting ludicrous trades like that.
Oh yeah, and here's the thing now too, is that like teams probably want him. I'm sure he's good, but he hasn't played football in a very long time. So like I feel like teams aren't gonna give them as much, clearly not give him as much, because he hasn't played. Like, no, you don't know how he's going to come up and show up and play. Like, he hasn't stepped on a football field for how long? Like,
he's for sure not nearly as valuable as he was last year when around this time when they were talking trades.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. I just wanted to get your opinion on that. I think we're just going to kind of keep rolling here throughout these NFL free agencies. Is that the next one is I've seen a handful of stuff here that people think that the Vikings should trade Kirk Cousins. I've seen some stuff that they kind of maybe be open to trading Kirk Cousins too. That I don't know, and around here in North Dakota, I feel like there's mixed emotions about Kirk Cousins with all the Vikings fan. I feel like his first couple of years there, they're just like, you trade him, he sucks, and then he had a couple good seasons, and they're like, oh yeah, Kirk Cousins, like he's our man, like. And I've always been a Kirk Cousins. Like, I think he's doing a fine job with the Vikings. I just don't think he's worth the money that he's getting paid right now. That's the only thing. My one thing with Kirk Cousins was. Do you think the Vikings should try to get rid of Kirk Cousins? Maybe get rid of that contract. I don't know when his contract even up, if it's next year or something. But get rid of that contract and move on, or do you think Kirk's the man?
He has 1 year left on that contract. I don't see any reason why they should trade him. Honestly, he's not the problem. Their shitty defense and their offensive line is the problem. I mean, like I said, and the coaching wasn't good. So I mean, I just don't really see what trading him would really do them. I mean, like I don't know who they're gonna get.
Yeah, and my only thing here is that I don't think they should trade him either. I think he's done a fine job there. Everyone's kind of complained around here about him every now and then. I think thing is though, and once his contract is up, I feel like they maybe just sign him for like a 2-year deal for a lot less money to keep him around. Or maybe after his contract gets done next year, they just say, we're done with you, Kirk. We're going to move on. Maybe there's a free agent quarterback that they're willing to go get. But I don't know. Right now, I think Kirk Cousins is the guy. I mean, like you said, I don't know who else they're going to get right now. They're not going to get any other better quarterback to come to Minnesota. And they're not going to be able to trade Kirk Cousins for, like, an example. Their only way is to literally, and I, like, this would not happen, but would be go to Deshaun Watson and be like, even with this stuff, we'll trade you Kirk Cousins to Texans, but we'll take Deshaun Watson in and just bet on that his legal stuff will fall through. I just don't think there's anyone in the league right now that the Vikings would trade, unless they're just going to look forward to get some draft picks and just kind of say, well, fuck, we're not going to have a quarterback for the next 2-3 years, and we're just going to kind of rebuild now, which I don't think they need to rebuild right now because they got a running back, they got good wide receivers, they just need to clean up some other spots of area like defense.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, trading Kirk would, give the implication that the quarterback is the problem, and they're not a quarterback away. Like I said, they're getting better defensive backs and a better offensive line away from being a contender. The quarterback situation is fine. Last year, he had 30-some touchdowns and 6 picks. Like, he actually had a really good year last year.
Yeah, 33 touchdowns, 7 interceptions.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I think the only person who threw less picks would probably be Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, and I don't know. I've always liked Kirk Cousins, honestly, and so I think there's no reason why they should trade him. If they want to move on from after his contract's done, but I think they stick with him this year, and after that, just move on, don't move on. It's up to them. He is 33 years old right now, so I mean, he's getting up there where he's still a young quarterback, but he's starting to get to the age where he might start slowing down a little bit in his career. But moving on from that one, I have one more here for you, and maybe something else for you here too. Is that there's been talks about should the Giants trade Saquon Barkley, and right away you hear that sentence and you think, why in the hell would they even think about trading Saquon? This is a player that's been injured constantly. He has been, yes, he was a monster when he came into the league, but he's been injured constantly, hasn't played very many games, and he might just be a liability for a team. And as a team like the Giants, you want to build around a guy like Saquon, but if he's not going to be healthy for you always, I think it's almost the point where some people, I think you need to move on and try to rebuild from someone else. What do you think the Giants should do with him?
They should. He's one of those guys where they shouldn't be actively shopping him, but they should listen to any offers that a team is willing to give them. Because like I said, he's a guy I'd really hesitate to trade because if he can just get healthy and you can get 5 or 6 good seasons out of him, I mean, he'd be a monster. And you don't want to be the team who traded Saquon for a first-round draft pick in a corner, just to have him go off at his new team if he can stay healthy. So I mean, but like I said, if someone's willing to offer you 2 first-rounders for a running back, I mean, I'd say, all right, yep, you can have them. We're not that good anyway.
Well, that's the thing. There's a lot of running backs in drafts. Like I feel like one of the most reliable positions. Like I feel like if you're like, there's a lot of good running backs that come out of the drafts.
Especially
Like,
late.
and I feel like if someone offered like, yeah, 2 first round picks, it's like I was like, you could trade them, and then I feel like if you really wanted a running back that year, you could go and get another running back, especially if you have a pick up high in the draft. Like a lot of those like early first round running backs don't usually like bust. I'm not saying like clearly, I'm not saying they have the explosive like Saquon Barkley or like these players, but like I don't think one truly just it's just absolutely awful. Like I mean, I think you'll always draft a running back, especially in the first round, that like that's gonna be reliable for sure. That, but they might not be as explosive as a player you might have had. But I don't know. I'm kind of with you. Is that if they got a trade offer for him, a good one, I think they get rid of him because like he's just been unreliable. And like I said, it kind of sucked to trade him, and then you see that he actually stays healthy and then just goes off at this team. And maybe they look at next year is the fact that can he stay healthy all year next year, and if he does, maybe they stick with him. If he gets injured again, but that's the thing. Teams might not give you as much for him then at that point. But that was my last thing on NFL free agency. But Jacob, I just want to hit you up with a tweet that I saw today that it's not even really a question. It's just a statement that said that if like I wanted your opinion on it. That was just like it's like, what do you guys think about this? And it's just like if Trey Lance would have stayed for one more year at NDSU, he could be a first round pick rather than a fourth round. Because clearly the money difference of being a first round pick, even to a fourth, is a little different. And they're just like basically his tweet said it was Trey Lance stupid to come out to the draft and not be, because this year I honestly clearly think he would have been the first round pick. You don't know what year he's going to have, but with NDSU, definitely probably winning another national championship with them, I think he would have been the first round pick. Like I don't know what you want to go off from that, but I just thought it was kind of interesting when I read that because I didn't think of it, and I was like, he probably would be the number one pick.
I mean, yes, but if you're going to go top 5, I think you just declare for the draft. All to go up 3 or 4 spots. I mean, you remember guys like Matt Barkley, who stayed for an extra year and his draft stock just tanked because he didn't have as good of a year as everyone thought he was going to.
Yeah.
I mean, like that can definitely happen. Like that's one of those, a bird in hand is better than 2 in the bush kind of thing. Like you're much better off just because I said he knew he was going to be a top 4 pick. Whether it was number 1 overall, 3 or 4, to wherever he ended up. I mean, he knew he was going to go top 5, and if you're going to go top 5, I think you just declare. And there's no reason to try to boost your stock 2 or 3 spots at that point.
Yeah, and clearly it worked out for him. He plays for the 49ers, who made the NFC Championship game, and clearly they might give him the spot next year, and he's starting for a great team and it's good to put in a good situation around. Around this year, I guess you probably wouldn't have been the number 1 pick because Jaguars got the number 1 pick, and they have Trevor Lawrence, but he'd been like number 2 for the Lions and probably even looking at starting. I mean, the Lions got 2 and the Texans got the 3rd pick. So I mean, I think for those teams that, especially getting drafted this year, I think you'd have been first year probably going to start, which maybe I don't think is what he needed because I think he was way too young of a player to do that. So I think it worked out for him. I just read that tweet and I just kind of thought it was like interesting. It's like, yeah, for a guy who, if he stayed in college one more year, probably would have been considered to be the number 1, the best pick in the draft. But yeah, that's all I have for NFL, Jacob. I believe you have some college basketball. I think you can transition into that for us.
As always, I mean, I just wanted to point out the first thing is a couple of these conference tournament brackets that I didn't realize the teams did these, but they do. I just kind of wanted to get your thoughts on them a little bit. So for those of you at home, I'm going to try to explain this as best as I can. So in Gonzaga's conference, as well as 3 other ones, they designed the bracket so the number 1 and 2 seeds have byes until the semifinals. The 3 and 4 seeds have byes to quarters. 5 and 6 get byes to second round, and it's kind of like a tiered thing. The lower seeds have to play a ton of games to get to the championship, and Gonzaga or St. Mary's, who are the 1 and 2 seed, since they're automatically in semifinals, only have to win 2 games. And a lot of people are mad about that. They're like, gee, you're favoring Gonzaga. How can you do that? Like, it's so dumb to favor the good teams like that. And there's also the opinion that this is a good thing. These conferences want their better teams to make it. These are designed to incentivize playing well. Because, like I said, I mean, like if those crappy teams wanted the advantage, they could have played better in the regular season. So I mean, like you can argue that this is that a bracket like this is incentivizing, regular season success. And if I didn't explain that good enough for those of you at home, just Google the bracket and you'll know what I'm talking about. What do you think?
No, it's interesting. Honestly, for how long it's been in there, I did not even know about that, which is weird because I'm a big. I like to think I follow call. Like I usually know what's happening. I just never knew that was like the format for that. And I for a small conference like that, I love it. I think it's a great idea. Because I understand like the WCC who do that and stuff like that. Back then when they probably first put it in there, it's like they're trying to get, like I said, guarantee that like Gonzaga gets in every single year because they want their team to win in the tournament because it looks good for the conference. And if for some odd reason Gonzaga got upset and then couldn't make the tournament, like one of their better teams isn't playing in there. And I like this a lot for those smaller conferences because, like I said, it makes sure that one of their best teams makes it rather than having an upset happen in the first round. Because upsets happen. When you look at March Madness, they still can happen, but just eliminates that more.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
I guess, and I'm not saying you think this either, but definitely not something like the ACC, or because the ACC and like those conferences always get. I mean, honestly, it's probably better for their conferences if some 8 seed upsets and wins it because that's one more person into the conference because probably
get more
the
bids.
4 teams because like the 4 teams that already were probably going to make it to the tournament are still going to be in there, and then they just got a 5th one for upsetting all these teams. So
yeah, I mean, I remember. I mean, I just watched a video earlier today about like the 2009 Georgia Bulldogs, who were like 11-15 going into the tournament, and they won all their games after a tornado took out the stadium and they had to play 2 games in a day, and they made it to the tournament as a team who was basically 500 because, they won their conference. So I mean, and the difference between Kentucky and Georgia, who's probably like just for example, let's just say Georgia's last place in the SEC this year. I don't think they are, or like Vanderbilt, like the difference between Kentucky and them, the difference between those guys is much less than the difference between like Gonzaga and Pepperdine, who's won like 6 games. So it's like there's no reason to make Gonzaga play a first round game against the 8 seed in the WCC just for them to win by 40 and maybe have a guy get hurt and then they get tired. And all sorts of fun stuff like that. So, I mean, I agree. I think it makes a lot of sense for those smaller conferences and not so much the WCC anymore because they're actually a good conference. Like I said, like they have 5 teams this year who could, but they won't get 5 in, but they do have 5 teams who could make it.
Yeah.
I mean, like some of those mid-major conferences are starting to get, a little bit better. But for like I said, for those smaller conferences where they're only going to get 1 bid, like you want to make sure you want to try your best to try to get your best team in because like I said, it looks better for your conference when you're winning games.
Yeah, no, I love it, honestly. When you told me that, I never realized. And once you said it, I was like, man, that makes a lot of sense, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, like some people are just irate. They're like, gee, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Like, they should have to win as many games as the rest. But, like, the question is why? Like, every team has an equal, every team in a conference plays every team twice. Everyone has a completely equal opportunity to earn the right to not have to play games in the tournament.
Yeah.
Like I said, it incentivizes actually winning games, in the regular season. Like, you can't just lose all your games and still make it to and still have the same. Because, in a normal 8-team tournament, any team would have to win 3 games. But now, the 8 seed has to win, like, 4 games. And the 2 best teams only have to win 2 games. Like I said, it incentivizes playing well in the regular season. And I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, I agree.
Not that every conference should do it, like we said, but I mean, it definitely works for those smaller conferences.
No, for sure. I no disagreement on my end over here.
I mean, other things. I mean, we all know if you haven't watched any news, sports news. I mean, every single team, top 6 team, lost on Saturday, which has never happened. The top 5 teams have all never lost in the same day. So having all 6 teams lose was kind of crazy. And you kind of look at the new AP poll, and they kind of drew a line. Like Gonzaga and Arizona stayed put at 1 and 2, and everyone below them just tanked. It was kind of interesting. Like Baylor jumped 7 spots from 10 to 3. Duke went up from 7 to 4. They dropped Purdue down to number 8. I mean, Kentucky and Kansas only fell 1 spot. They dropped Auburn 2 spots. It's like it's kind of funny. It said they drew that line at Arizona and said you two get to stay. Everyone else, have fun falling. I thought that was kind of interesting. I mean, what do you kind of think of how that went down over the weekend?
I don't know. It was definitely cool to see that. Like, I mean, it just makes me excited for March because I mean, you see all these teams losing right now, and it's like just gives you that March Madness feeling of all these upsets and all this that's happening. I don't know. It's like it's weird because throughout, I feel like most of the season, like when one seed loses or like, and granted the top 6 lost as well, so it's like it seems like usually when a number 1 seed loses or 2 seed, they drop down to 8 or something, and it's just weird to see that when all of them lose at the same time. I don't know. Maybe Mike argument that Duke should have jumped all of them because they were the 17th seed and didn't lose this weekend, and they destroyed Syracuse. But I don't know. It was just a cool thing to see. I thought I didn't watch any of the games clearly. I just remember looking throughout the day, and I just kept watching. Oh, this team got upset. Oh no, this team got upset. Like it was just cool to see, and not every team that lost to like unranked team though was a thing. And like Purdue lost Michigan State, who's not ranked, but they're Michigan State. Like Auburn lost to the number 17 seed. Like
Yeah, that's not
Kentucky
that's not a bad loss.
Kentucky lost to number 18 Arkansas. Like, I mean,
Arizona actually had by far the worst loss. They had like a 18-point loss to an unranked team, and they stayed put at 2, which is odd. They said like, but I mean, granted, but I mean, like if you look at, I mean, they still have the best record in basketball. So I mean, you probably just argue that they probably still deserve 2 just because their resume is still better than the other teams.
Yeah.
So I mean, I can understand how that all kind of shook out, but I mean, what's the best thing about college basketball, honestly?
What's that?
Like, I love how these mid-major programs can succeed. Like look at the top 25, and the number 1 program is mid-major. Number 9 is mid-major. Number 11 is mid-major. Number 18 has been major. Number 14 has been major. Number 19 has been major. Number 22 has been major. Like, you can actually be a successful program, and there's a bunch of them. It's just great. Like I said, I mean, and the top 4 teams, in the receiving votes in the AP poll, all mid-majors. 26 is Boise State. 27 is Davidson. 28 is Colorado State. And then 29 is South Dakota State. It's like, it's so great. And it's always different every year. Like, there's no such thing as a team winning 5 out of 6 years in college basketball. You just can't do it.
Yeah, I don't know. I that's why I also love.
It's awesome.
I love it too for that reason. And like I said, in March Madness, I mean, yeah, I feel like every year in the Final Four, you always get those typical Power 5 teams. But there's usually some. There might be some Power 5 team there that like is a 7 seed that wasn't hyped up all season, or you might have those years you have Chicago Loyola in there. I mean, you have those years that UConn's won and like Butler's gone. Like, it's definitely cool. Just I agree with you. That's why I love college basketball, especially during March Madness. You can't ever bet on any team to. I feel like there's been a couple years you could fully bet on, be like, yeah, this team's probably gonna possibly waltz through. But the thing is, they can't. You can't for sure say it because it's college basketball. I mean, upsets are going to happen, and I love it too because college football, you don't mid-majors teams don't get respect. I mean, this year Cincinnati finally got to, but they had to be good for a couple years and then go undefeated this year. And if they didn't have that win against Notre Dame, they probably weren't in it, honestly.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, like I said, I mean, in basketball, I mean, like I said, the best teams can lose any day because you might just shoot bad. Like, Duke had probably the most talented college basketball team ever a few years ago, and they didn't make it to the Final Four. They lost to a 5'10" point guard in the Elite Eight.
Yeah, they did.
It's so awesome, and yeah, like I said, I mean, I just love the variety of college basketball and all sorts of fun. And I think this is better basketball than NBA too, but that's something I can talk about, ad nauseum for hours. But I mean, yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
no,
definitely be watching the games out there though. We were talking before this, starting Saturday, teams are getting automatic bids every day except for next Thursday and Friday. So I mean, we have, 10 of, starting Saturday, 7 of the next 9 days having conference championship games. So watch some of those if you can. I mean, some of those mid-major games are still very good.
yeah, no, they are. Like I said, I think we're gonna have good basketball here in the next week, and then March Madness will roll around, and clearly, come better watch some Duke UNC. Coach K's last game against UNC on Saturday.
Yep, that'll be his
Got
last game against UNC. Last regular season game for sure. They might meet in the tournament at some point, but his last home game at Cameron Indoor. It's gonna be. I'll definitely make sure I watch that one.
yeah, for sure. But well, I think that's about all we have. We will be back again this week. If it's Thursday or Friday, I'd assume it'd be one of those 2 days. But thank you guys for listening, and we'll talk to you later this week.